All right. How is everyone doing? Welcome to another episode of the Building Savages podcast. Here, my
Another
wonderful
one.
co-host EP.
Yep, another one. Another one.
Another one.
We just dropping. We just dropping some content for you motherfuckers. That's what we're
Oh
doing. It's
man.
another one.
Every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit those notifications for YouTube. Check us out on Spotify. Follow the page. Stay tapped in with all the episodes. Stay tapped in with all the content because we're going to keep hitting you with more and more each week. And as always, thank you for everyone who's been supporting the journey, everyone who's been giving us feedback, listening to the episodes. We're super grateful, man, and we are getting close to 20 episodes with this thing, and it's amazing to see where it's going. So as always, we would like to give our praise and thank you to all our fans and all our audience right in the beginning of the podcast to show we do this stuff for you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We appreciate everybody. Because again, we're starting this from nothing. So anybody that follows us, 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, like you guys do it. Like you guys help us and you guys motivate us to continue doing this. Also we find this enjoyable as fuck at this point, but that's beside the point. We would do this without you motherfuckers, but
We were doing it for 3 months without you
we've been doing it
guys.
3 months without you motherfuckers. We're still doing it.
So it's like, you know what, let's add some friends
Yeah,
to it.
yeah. We're like, we should drop these eventually. That's
Yeah.
literally was our
The funny
conversation.
part was we were supposed to drop them after the first month, but we
Yeah,
just never did.
we just never
And then
did.
we just kept recording.
Yeah. I think we just we were already super confident in it because like I mean the first couple are still rough, even though like they're coming out now. They're still rough, but like now we're just like, bro, this is just these hours are just fun. Like it's just us talking about shit that is we're going through, or like things are other people are going through it they need to hear. And it's just like, there's podcasts where people do this shit too, but I guess it's a little different from a different point of view.
For
Jesus.
sure. And at the end of the day, like if you have an audience, you always got someone to speak to.
Exactly.
And I always tell other coaches like we are literally walking content every single day we step into work.
Yeah.
We just don't always have a camera on us, or we just don't always have like a recording of the things that we're doing. But every time you sit there with a client and you're teaching episodes, you're teaching exercises, and you're going through movements, and you're teaching someone about health or nutrition, that's fucking content. That's
Yeah.
education. That's things that can be utilized to another group of people.
Yeah.
So now, being in the space that we are now, we're just breaking down things and literally just having conversations of things that we go through on a daily basis, and now just kind of trying to reach this to an audience and finally really recording a lot of the things that we've been speaking of or the things that we're currently just going through in today's time.
Yeah, for sure. It's I think especially like as like 30-year-olds or like a little bit like millennials, like we're not used to having this. We're getting more used to it, and like obviously we're part of social media and all that stuff. But like Gen Z's all about this shit. Like they're all about like the fucking Instagram content, like all that stuff. Like this is just not our thing. So for us to do all this, have content is new, and understanding the language of media in general is important. And I think it's going to help us go in the right trajectory while we're continuously doing this. Because we're learning new things. We're learning how to communicate online on social media and getting more clients or getting more people to listen to us. So it's very important. I think all coaches should kind of like find a way to create content and just know that everything is fucking content. It doesn't matter how dumb it is. It doesn't matter how raw it is. It's content. Somebody's gonna be out there looking, listening, be motivated by it. So you just never know.
Yeah, and for me, like for the longest I was trying to figure out how to tap into the content, and like once I found my lane, and my lane is just being an educator, but also trying to educate in a way that's still entertaining for people while still using personality, because you also don't want to come off like a bookworm or just like so advanced with jargon and just like boring shit that's not really gonna appeal to people at the end of the day. It's kind of like what we do with coaching,
Yeah.
right? Like we're some way to simplify a squat is literally like bend at the hips, drop down. You might even say little jokes to get someone to get down into the squat the way that you need to connect with them.
Yeah. What is your funniest cue? You have a funny
Um,
ass.
when I was teaching the hip hinge one time, they wasn't getting it, and I was like, "You remember that You ever heard that song "To the Windows, to the Wall"?
Come on, bro.
and
Come
I
on.
knew she, and I knew she
Yeah.
did. So I
Yeah.
was like, that's how I want you to think. I'm like, see the wall there? Like we're going to the wall. That's where you're
Yeah.
gonna hip hinge. And then she's been the best hip hinger in the world since
I
then.
fucking love it. It usually, I'm a big fan of making it funny because a lot of times if you make it funny, they remember. So I have a
Of course.
couple. So I have a couple. My first funny one was in Syracuse teaching hand cleans. So I would call it long dicking and short dicking. So
Yeah.
so when they're throwing the bar and they're short dicking, like they're doing it wrong. You got long dick it. I was like, yo, when you're having sex, like, do you long dick or you short dick? You long dick. So don't short dick my clean.
Don't short dick my cleans
It just sounds weird, but like it worked every time. It worked
every
every
time,
time.
dude.
Another one I have is it's not really a cue, but when I'm coaching and stuff like that, just to correct people. So especially in a plank or like a hard variation or something, if you're shaking like a stripper, you're doing it right. That's usually my go-to. Squeeze your butt like you're on a date and you got to fart. That's
Oh yeah, I call it the lemon squeezer.
that's a good one. That's a good one. Those are some of the ones I have. I have other ones I just can't think about right now, but the long dick and the short dick, and I don't use it as often now because I'm coaching like more general population. But you coach
Yeah.
athletes, bro, they're like, oh, I only long dick. Like they
It's
all
fucking
ego
mad
about
ego
it.
driven.
I don't got no short dick. Like they'll like use the fuck out of their hips, but like it works for them.
You gotta know the audience, dude. Like you gotta speak
Yeah,
in a language that people can connect with at the end of the day.
exactly. Um,
But yeah, but back to the content part, like I've been having fun with it. I just got some microphones for my phone. So now I
nice.
want to start doing tutorial voiceover type shit. Got
Mhm.
my tripod and shit ready and trying to tap in and I just had like a conversation with myself too. I'm like, well, if I'm offering an online service and I'm selling things online, I have to be fucking online. like,
That's usually how it goes. You just, yeah,
like it
yeah,
just
you
makes sense
can't
at this
not.
point.
Yeah, it's I get 100%. I actually like surprisingly or not, like I hate social media, like to the depth of me. I hate it. It consumes me because I have a very addictive personality. So like I can't just watch one episode. I need to watch like 10. And like I can't just like look at my Instagram. I got to be sitting on it. So like even though I enjoy creating content for social media, like it glues me in too much. Like I can't like it's frustrating. Like I can't wait for the day that like I don't need to. And like I mean I don't need to use social media right now, but is like the platform where I can communicate the best with people that want to listen. So if it was up to me, I'll be like fucking
I've noticed a big change in your content over the past couple months.
yeah. I'm
You've been
getting
kicking ass, dude.
yeah. I've been trying to get better at it. Trying to see what people listen to more, making it more varied. Um, like you want to be a little bit more educational and a little more entertaining. I enjoy making fun of people and then making
Yeah.
it fun also. So that's been working for me. I've been a little bit slower on making it fun lately, and I've been making it a little bit more serious, but putting a lot of value in the content, very, very short in a very, very short span. And then changing a lot of this stuff because your algorithm doesn't really work if you just keep doing reels because everybody's doing
Yeah.
reels. So
Mm,
reels, pictures, and all that stuff.
that
But
makes sense.
yeah, but I mean, I bet if I had a fat ass and I showed it all the time, I'll be a thousand, like tens of thousands of subscribers, man. It's like, oh, like follow me on my back day while I show my ass everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so
Yeah.
much easier in this world. But no, I have a fucking beard and I'm fucking short and I got a bald head and you got to deal with that.
There's a
Fuck,
market for the beards, man.
it is a market for the beards
Yeah, the
though.
market's for the beards, dude. But
Yeah.
no, the content part at the end of the day, and the other part, I start looking at it too. Like, it does add to the value of you being a coach,
Yes.
you know. And the more we can find ways to show our value and utilize our value, obviously that's gonna attract what we're trying to bring into our business in the first place.
Yeah. And that goes to our topic, value. He just did a
Saw that segue in there.
you
Get
saw
better
that
at this
segue?
shit.
Right? I need people to pay attention to that segue because that was just such a good segue right there. I'm so proud of you, bro. You can't say we're not getting better at this over here.
Getting better at this
Segueing like
shit, man.
a
I'm increasing my value actually.
motherfucker. Oh man, I'm increasing my value. No, it's a yeah. Today we want to talk about value, and I think it's very important as coaches, as people. as anything, like value is very important, and like what you bring to the table, um, like and knowing what you bring to the table and knowing what like you are internally of value is very important. And I think a lot of people miss that, where they put themselves down or they don't think they're good enough.
Yeah.
I think it's a hard life to live, and I think you need to look internally and show that you actually do. And I catch myself. I'm a very positive person in here sometimes, but
Hmm.
I'm negative when I speak, because I feel like if I speak the positive too much, then I can come off a little bit like braggy. Um, and I get my friend call like I get my friend calling me out a lot where I say something. And it's like the other day I was talking about something. I don't remember what it was. And I was like, well, like sometimes I don't feel like I remember this exactly. It was like, I may not be able to bring anything of value, but and she was like, no, no, no. Like you bring something of value. Like you have to stop saying that, because then when your words like attract the actions that you're or whatever, like you know how it is, that
And you'll
manifestation.
subconsciously start believing that stupid
And you
shit.
start consciously start believing it, and it wasn't even intentional. Like I know I bring value, yeah, I mean, to like whatever situation that I'm put in, but it was just like it was somebody checking me to like be like, oh shit, like I say that a lot. I say like shit like that a lot. Like I need to be a little bit more kinder to myself. But but yeah, value is very important as a coach, as a person, like understanding where you are, understanding how much you bring to the table, and understanding that you are like fucking amazing. Like you're amazing. Like understand that, and then use that. Use it in everything.
Well, I have a question for you. So something you said earlier was like, I guess sometimes you kind of hide or dim your own light because you don't want to come off as like braggy or like I guess like overconfident.
Mhm.
You think that's a problem?
I think that is a problem. I think that is. I think I mean, going with the fucking the title of whatever the topic is, like it devalues me. Like it shows, because I don't appreciate the amount of value I bring. Sometimes like I just forget. You know what I mean? I say those negative things, like people hear them, and then people also put me on a lower tier. Yeah,
Oh,
well,
let me reword the question. I said
oh,
that wrong. So
okay.
I mean in a sense of like dimming your light and making yourself sound like you're of higher value. Like I don't necessarily look
Oh,
at that as being braggy if
oh,
that's
okay.
yeah,
Oh, you're
yeah, yeah.
saying that not okay. I understand what you're saying now.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's actually it's a good thing. I think like actually like putting yourself on the pedestal like is a good thing, because then it reinforces
Good.
what you
Yeah.
already know, but it also kind of like it forces you to get there. Like let's just say like it's one of those things where like I make a million. You could just say like I'm gonna make $1 million, and you could say that thousand times, or like I made $1 million, or I'm gonna continue making $1 million, or whatever like that. Like you keep saying it, you have to kind of like put in the work to actually do it, because like it's one of those things where like it's uh people are gonna see, people are gonna look for the action that comes behind it.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are actually gonna look for the proof, and if you can show the proof, then it's of value to them, because they want to understand it, they want to learn how to
Exactly.
do that stuff. So I do think, I don't know why I do it. I don't know if it's like a childhood thing, which is everything we do is probably a childhood thing. But yeah, it just rubs me the wrong way. Now now that I'm seeing it, like it's starting to become this thing where I need to kind of change my tune and put myself on a pedestal and understand
Or
what I do bring. Because I remember, you know what I mean? I do know. It's just sometimes you just forget, because like some people just don't say it. Like people don't say it, people don't attribute to it, and like you just forget.
yeah, like and especially as professionals, I always use like a surgeon or like a doctor as an example. Like, bro, I want the surgeon who fucking knows he's the best. If
Yeah.
I'm getting like some surgery done and it's some shit where like I'm literally at the most vulnerable place that I can possibly be in, whatever is being done to my body is something that's going to change me for the rest of life, either in a positive way or the worst way that you can
Oh,
possibly think of.
100%. Yeah.
I don't want the guy that's just gonna be like humble. I want the guy that's going to be
With the
like,
shit.
I can get this shit done. My
Exactly.
value is my value here, but I know that my work can get the fucking result that you are looking for,
Yeah.
and that's that. And I think sometimes, like, as professionals, like we try to be a little too humble, and that's not like to say to walk around and just be an asshole about it.
Yeah.
But there is a way to just be so confident in the way that you speak, in the way that you present yourself, in the way that you handle, to where someone just looks from the outside like, damn, that person is really fucking good at what they do.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
And I think I run into that especially with a lot of us coaches who are very passionate about coaching and that want to help people, and you know the whole story of why we all get into coaching, blah blah blah. But you can't be so far on that fence to the point to where like you're just kind of bending over backwards and letting people just kind of take advantage
Hmm.
because you're not really utilizing your power the way that you have. Our power is our expertise,
Yeah.
and we can't let somebody else have power over our expertise. We have to show our ass. Like when someone walks in our gym or at least walks in our sessions, like they know that this is Coach Evans' time. This is Coach T's time. Like they're running the ship. Go over there. That's the man. They know what they're doing here. And when you
Yeah.
speak to them, like they speak in a very confirming tone.
Yeah.
They speak in a very way like the things that they are saying are fact. They are law. They know exactly what they're saying. And even when they don't understand or know something, they even speak in a way that's gonna be like, I'm gonna get that answer for you though.
Yeah, I think that's also a big thing is like understanding your own value and your own self identity is also like understanding that you have to be vulnerable. And like that right
Yeah.
there is like a big power move right there. If you can be vulnerable, like you can be this big tall guy, whatever like that, know exactly what you're talking about. But if you get to a question where you don't understand the answer and you try to like go around the question or you try to answer the question that you don't know, like you can just tell the difference in tone. You know what I mean? Like from this fucking, I know exactly what I'm talking about. So like, I have no idea what you're asking, and flip it. Like, I'm gonna find the answer for you. Like, I don't know the answer. I'm gonna find somebody that knows the answer, whatever like that. That's powerful in itself.
Because
Like that.
people who are of high value are people who provide solutions.
Yeah.
That's our value. Like we know what our expertise is, and we typically will know where we fall short in as well. But one thing we know to do is we're going to get the result. That's what makes our value our value.
Yep.
Everybody in the world, rest in peace, loves Kobe Bryant. We don't love Kobe Bryant because he was the humble guy. We love Kobe Bryant because he was a fucking hard-working,
Right.
result-driven, insanely talented. Like that's what you love him for. And when you're
On.
on the field, and all the stories you hear about him on the court is like, damn, this dude was a dog. Like he didn't take no shit. He talked shit on the court. He was super competitive. Like this is what we know to love with Kobe Bryant, and that's obviously speaking in the sports world. But when it I think when I really started to elevate even more in my career is when I just really sat with myself. I'm like, yo, dude, I'm the professional here. If people are coming to me for the expertise, I
Mhm.
got X, Y, and Z all these years in, got results here, continuing to learn, super likable as a coach, and all these things that come with me that make me a great coach, and also knowing where I fall short in.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's so much value in this, and there's so much value that I bring, and having more reassuring conversations with friends, clients, loved ones that even show me what my value is like you got to stand in that. You got to live in that. Because if you don't showcase your value and you don't see your own value, nobody's going to see it for you. And
Yeah.
even if they do, the fact that you're dimming your own light, they can only make your light only as bright as you allow them to make it in the first place.
Mhm. Yeah, that's some powerful shit right there. I love that. And like you're 100%, you're 100% right. Like I think it's just one of those things where like you have to be that fucking, you have to know exactly what you're talking about. You have to show that you hold value. And I think like you don't need the reinsurance. And I think that's the one of the things where like sometimes you just forget. You forget. You know what I mean? Like I am a single guy. I work and I go home and I forget. But like it's not even like I need the conversation. I don't need the reinsurance. I think the reinsurance is the small details that that people show. Like people come and they ask you questions all the time. Like they could ask somebody else. They do come to fucking to PT all the time. They do want to see you. I mean, you hold value. I mean,
For
yeah, you're
sure.
paying you. They came to you. You know what I mean? Like how busy you are at fucking work and how many people come to see you, like things like that, like the small things, the small actions, I think people forget. You know what I mean? Because they're not really like, Evan, you're awesome. And then you walk the fuck away. You know what I mean? Like that's never gonna happen. You know what I mean? If you're not gonna allow that to happen, that's not gonna happen. Like you need to be okay in your presence. You need to be okay in your value. You need to understand what you bring to the table. And then you need to be okay with not being reassured all the fucking time by words. Be reassured and pay attention to people's actions. Because that right there is usually telling you exactly what you want to hear. You know what I mean, just sometimes like in the muddle of being a fucking adult, in the muddle of being constantly busy, you forget. You know what I mean? So to round that off, like be thankful that people are there. I mean, in your corner. Get me? Like there are people in your corner, even if you forget people are in your fucking corner. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because like your life has meaning and you hold value, no matter where the fuck you're at.
And the funny part is, like, we're getting reassured every day if you really look for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when your client or your athlete comes back to you every single week, that's reassurance that that person is trusting you to guide them where they need to go.
Yeah.
They're putting their investment in with their time and also their finances to come to see you. This person might be around for 6 months. This person might be around for 6 years. This person might been here for 6 days, but that's a part of the reassurance there. Every
Yeah.
time you post something and someone's reading it or someone's sharing it, someone's having a conversation about the thing that you're posting, that's reassurance to let you know that, hey, whatever I'm doing, people are paying attention to it and people see value in it.
I think, and not to cut you off, I think this is where social media has got us fucked because I think we associate reassurance with liking, commenting, reposting instead of people like are actually out there just going through the feed or just looking at stuff or just there for you. You know what I'm saying? Like I think like we don't need that immediate dopamine hit of like having that follow. Like that stuff doesn't fucking mean anything. Like I mean, it's monetized for some people, but like that shit doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean?
It doesn't
Like
mean everything.
what?
It doesn't mean everything. It
It
can
doesn't
mean a
mean
little bit, but it definitely
yeah,
doesn't mean everything.
it doesn't mean everything. So I think you just have to watch how you take that reassurance. Because like sometimes it just doesn't mean everything too, also.
So some people's reassurance, I feel, comes in what you were saying in like that instant gratification.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what I would tell people with when they post like some people are, oh, I want to see you lift more, do X, Y, and Z here. I'm like, well, me posting this lift or even just people posting lifts in general, people just kind of move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, you hit this lift, your lift is only going to be 10 seconds long, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You move on to the next one. It's nothing super special at that point.
Mm,
It's going to be special to some people who just follow you and they are interested in what you do. Yeah, but the part that I'm looking for too in the reassurance is not necessarily someone hitting that like button only. I'm
yeah.
looking at it like, how is whatever I'm sharing is impacting you,
Yes.
whether in your household, whether it's impacting you in your everyday, impacting your mental, your emotional state. That's where the reassurance kind of comes for me. And everybody's not necessarily going to share with you that what you did changed them in this way, because there's some things that you're naturally doing that people are paying attention to you that you really don't have any idea that they're really paying attention as deep as you know. You might
Or
not find
even
out till 2 years later.
yeah, or even like you don't even know you're doing it. It's just a natural thing for you.
Of course. And
Mm,
and like I'll see that every now and then with me, like I do my Instagram story rants and stuff like that. There's some people that will just randomly hit me on one of my story rants that, yo, I love when you post stuff like this, or this one really hit me this way, like I read all your stories or whatever like that. I might be on post number 121 at this point, and this is the first time this person has ever said anything about my story rants, but they're watching.
mm,
So I'm providing value to them.
yep.
Like people are looking forward to this. Some people are just more vocal about it than others. But the fact that you know that you always have an audience, and if you have a clientele, you always have an audience. They
Yeah.
might not pay attention to every little single move you do. Some might pay attention more than others. That's our job to try to get people in as much as possible. But
Yeah.
ultimately, like they still have their eyes on you. So when you speak, they're going to listen to what you have to say as if you have clientele that value you. Because if they
Mm,
don't value, then you know what needs to happen over time. But a majority of the people that are coming to you on a weekly basis, they find some sort of convenience and some sort of value to their life that they want to continue to surround themselves with it every week or
Yeah.
every month or however that looked for them. So I think instead of us always just worrying about like, damn, I only got 4 likes on this one, or damn, I only got 1 share on this, that's okay, because there's still other people that are looking at it, and there's still a lot more viewers that just don't respond on social media, especially on Instagram, because Instagram is a very scroll heavy type
Mhm.
of app, to
Yeah.
where YouTube is something that if someone's watching you, they're probably going into a rabbit hole or they're just playing it in the background. Like
Mhm.
Spotify, same idea. It might be something that they're just kind of playing in the background that they don't might have to necessarily just sit through and be active. Instagram is very active, where it's like, let me see that thing. I'm checking on something and I'm just scrolling by it. How many times did you ran into a dope ass food video that you never hit a like button on or that you never shared? You just saw
Oh,
it as like, oh, that's dope, and then you just keep going, keep going. So if we're doing that with someone's content who's providing value, who's to say they're not doing that with our shit?
mm,
Like people are still looking at the end of the day.
yeah. Mm, that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's a different it's different when you really put in that perspective of understanding like your own value and understanding like how people actually view like social media and like understand value. I mean, a lot of people, I don't fucking do it, and I know a lot of people are gonna say like, oh, like I post on, I comment on everything. Well, no, you don't. You
No,
fucking lie.
no, you don't.
You don't. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what, people are gonna support you, even if they don't vocally support you every time, because like sometimes whatever you post just doesn't hit them. You know what I mean? But like one time, like you just said, the 120th one, like was like, bro, like I read this shit every day, and I noticed that I read this shit every day, and like it's made me a better person,
For sure.
focused or whatever like that. And it's like that thing where like the other day, I mean, I got a card from my cousin not too long ago, and he was like, bro, like you're my favorite cousin because like every time I see you, you're like working hard. Like you've gotten exactly where you wanted to be. You've done all the things that you needed to do. Like when I think about my next step or what I'm doing, like I'm thinking about how you would do it. And I'm like, Jesus, like I was just doing me. You know what I mean? Like I was just doing me. Like I was just trying to figure this shit out. You know what I
Sure.
mean? I fucking busted on my face. Like, that sounded weird when I said that out loud.
That was amazing.
Oh my bad.
Oh man, that's gonna
All
make for a good
motivational. You
blooper.
had it. Yeah, all motivational. You had to have that's a she said joke and
Gonna
a
make for
pause.
a good blooper.
Yeah, that's a pause right there. I fell on my face. That's a little bit more appropriate. Um, but he saw the ups and downs, and like it was like you have to have the ups and downs. Like it was just one of those things where like I didn't see what I was doing. Like I knew like I was what while I was doing it, like I was struggling, but like when I came out of it, I came out of it strong. And like he saw that and he was like, bro, like you're my motivation. And that was big for me. You know what I mean, that was huge. Like I still have the card on my fucking on my fucking refrigerator. So it just reminds me that like even if people are watching, people are paying attention, people are just are there, even if they're not really there for you or whatever like that. Like they're looking. You know what I mean? And that's in itself a value. You know what I mean? Like that should be a constant reminder that like, hey, like you can keep going because people are in your corner, even if they're not fucking so super vocal about it. And like you don't need them to be vocal about it. If you're super like self-efficient and you're super secure with yourself and you are vulnerable with yourself, like I don't need anybody to tell me anything. It'd be good every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like everybody likes a little bit, oh like, you're fucking awesome. But like I don't fucking need it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna keep trucking along and I'm gonna keep doing what I need to do. I mean, once that kind of like happens into your head, if you're not one of those people that already have that, like once that happens where it just clicks, like, bro, I got this shit. Like there's nothing like in your fucking way. You know what I mean? You're open to asking questions, you're open to taking criticism, like you're open to collaborate and delegate. Like you're more of a fucking functioning human being than being the person that's so scared to open up and show people what you're capable of. Like you should never try to be scared of like to show people what you're capable of, especially like in our profession. If you're a strength and conditioning coach, like you have to. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to. Like your whole thing is value. Like what the fuck do you bring to the table? You know what I mean? And sometimes like this right here, like this is like our 16th, 17th time
17.
talking or whatever like that. Like we don't know what this is gonna do. We don't know how much value this has. We just know that we have value and we're trying to show and promote it. You know what I mean? Like we're just trying to do that. And I think that's in itself its own value. You know what I mean? Because like worst case scenario, Terrence and I don't stop doing this in a year and like we're like, bro, it didn't really work out. It didn't like I think we don't have the right time or whatever like that. Like, do you know how much fun this was for the last year? Do you
For sure.
understand how much better we got at communicating? Do you understand how much better we understand social media, understand how to edit videos, how to do all this stuff? Like there's always a lesson in everything too, and that has its own value. So I kind of think about it like we talked about before, like having the return on investment, like taking the risk, figuring out what you can learn from it. That is a return on your investment. You learn something. Cool. All right, move on. Let's do something else. Let's adapt. All right, cool. If that didn't work, let's adapt. That didn't work, figure it out. You know what I mean? And then those will add value to your life. I mean, just kind of keep growing, keep growing, keep growing. But if you're gonna kind of be stagnant, you're not gonna learn from anything, and you're not gonna fucking try to get out there and do stuff. Like people are never gonna look at you, listen to you, or whatever like that. I mean, you'll just be the same person you were last year. And if you're not, if you're not the same person you were last year, or if you're the same person you were last year, you're making, I mean, money is not the everything, but if you're doing all that stuff, like you're just back hustling, you're not doing anything, you're just there. I don't want to be there. I don't think anybody on this podcast is listening to this wants to just be there. Like if you're listening to the podcast and you're not taking, here's the thing: if you're listening to podcasts and you don't take one thing of value from every single podcast you listen to, then you're listening to the wrong podcast. And you're listening, you're not doing anything. You're just listening to fucking sounds. I mean, even Joe Rogan's podcast has shit that you could fucking be like, oh, like that's a cool idea. I mean, 3 hours shit, 3 hours worth, that shit better be fucking like full of fucking value. You know what I mean? Take everything and monetize it or think about it as like, how can this be valuable to me? What can I take from it? And then take it and then actually use it. I mean, it's like what do they call it? Like a entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. Like a entrepreneur wants to be a entrepreneur, but doesn't put any action into actually being an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur actually does the shit. So which one are you? Mm.
Jay-Z had a good reference in that before. He was like, the difference between you and I is I did it.
Yeah, pretty
That
much.
was it. You know, and now it's something that I sat with myself in my own coaching career is very early on. It was just I kept telling myself there was so much that I needed to do. Like, oh, I need to learn this, or I need to understand this, or I need to have this, and blah 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 blah. Putting this, I need, and just like I just kind of sat with myself. It was like, well, I have though, and all these things that I need, and all these things that I want, they're gonna come as long as I keep being studious, I keep consistent, I
Mm,
keep getting the resources that I should have around me. And it's just like you want to be present with where you are while still knowing where you're going at the same time. And you also want to understand what your skill set and what your value is at the moment because it's servicing somebody.
yeah,
And
pretty
I
much.
had a conversation with I have a lot of conversations with like younger coaches, and one thing that I told them about is because I used me for example too. It's like I always felt like I needed to have more as a coach to be able to go to that next step, but it's like what I have at the moment, I have a community that I can share with and I can communicate with that is going to be able to benefit from me.
Mhm,
Now, while I'm at this level, I'm still looking up to the next level. I know what the coaches are above me are doing, so I'm learning from them because I'm going to crawl up that ladder and I'm going to get on their level. And now I'm going to speak to the people that's at this level and below, which was me at one point.
mm,
And this is how this continues to go. It's like this it's the circle at the end of the day, or it's just the progression, how that looks like. Like a lot of the coaches that I follow, that's in my network or where I aspire to be, they're smarter than me. They have business structures that are different than mine or more progressed than where mine is. But all that tells me is I'm just heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
That doesn't tell me that what I have now isn't enough, because every time I'm listening to them talk and every time I, let's say, have certain conversations, it's like you're on the way, you'll get there. Like it's just, you just got to keep doing what you're doing, because I'm also looking at guys that have 20 years experience.
Mhm.
I'm like looking at guys that got 15 years plus. So now when I'm looking at myself, it's like if I did this in 10 years at this rate, what the fuck does another 10 years look like for me?
Yep. 100%. And
And in another 10 years, I'm only going to be 40.
mhm.
So if I'm 40 years old in my profession, didn't even hit the 50-year mark, and I'm 20 years deep in what I'm doing, I have so much structure and so much that I'm gonna grow as a man
Yeah.
in that time period. So all of this value is going to continue to come. So it's like I can be grateful for the space that I'm in now while knowing where I'm still going and understanding who I can service and who I can communicate with at the level that I'm at. And now it gets to a point to where it's just the expansion of the demographics or the groups that I can speak to is going to be wider now because I increased my value to reach more people.
Yeah.
So where when I first started, maybe I was only able to reach this group, but now at year 12, I can reach that group plus another 15 other groups because of the structure that I've now created and the knowledge and also knowing how to utilize a lot of my value and my talents more than maybe I knew how to do in the past. And that just comes with really just staying at something long and long. And that's where you actually start to get more of that confidence built in yourself too. Because
Mhm.
now you're more tried and true. So at this point, you and I are 10, 11 years. And if we combine our times together, we're 22 years tried and true in this field.
Yeah.
So as you keep doing this shit, it's impossible not to see your value after a while, because it's like we survived during COVID. We survived a lot of shit. And not only did we survive it, we created new structures. We adapted new ways. We've gotten better. We've gotten smarter. Shit, the coaches vault came out of it, and the coaches vault came with the other group that we tried to create, which didn't last long. But that came into us creating a podcast.
That didn't last very
Now
long.
we're 17 episodes deep,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just all a part of the journey that creates your value. What that looks like, and I think that all of us need to give ourselves more grace with that, but also more just like there's been a couple times that I just really sit and I just start thinking about some shit and I just pat myself on the back like, yo, you fucking did that. That's dope. And now you're gonna do more.
Yeah. No, man, that's fucking, it's big time. You're hitting at my heartstrings, bro. This is why, bro. It is true. It's just one of those things where like you never know what comes from one thing, and always having like it's just your return on your investments, like we just talked about. It's about gaining interest. It's all about like the money thing. Like when you think about it, like money, like you're growing your fucking worth, like as you're doing the stuff, like as you're growing each year, you're growing as an individual, like, and that just becomes like in itself his own value. Like you're becoming a man, you're having the family, you're growing the business, like you're being able to reach the different people. Like it's always gonna grow. And I think it's one of those things where like a lot of people need that instant gratification of like I need $1 million now, but like I'm sorry, like sometimes it takes forever. Like you might not be that person that fucking like has like the fucking boom of 1 year. Like you might need to take 40 years to get exactly where you want to be. You know what I mean? Sometimes it needs to take 20. Like it doesn't matter. But like just know that you're going in the right direction because you adhered to the structure that you created for yourself and the trajectory that you wanted to go. It's like playing checkers and chess. Like if you're only gonna look one move ahead, like you're never gonna see the ends. But like if you play chess, like you have to look at option one, option two, option three. How am I going to get there? Like all that different stuff. And like once you understand how to play chess in the world or the board that you created or you want to create for yourself, like you're always going to fucking win. Or Like you might fuck. I'm gonna say the word bust again. I almost did it. You're gonna fucking fail, and you have to reorganize the board and then try again. Like it's always ever changing, but you have to be okay with like the ever changing stuff because it's just part of the process.
Well,
Um,
failing's not as bad as people think it is.
no, it's
A
actually
lot
fun.
of shit is just your fucking ego. You're afraid to look a certain way when it happens. Like failure, which I don't feel like I had any failures. I just had learning experiences at the end of the day. But like, unless your failure really looks like you just did some dumb shit to where like you lost everything that you worked
Yeah,
for
that's different.
type
Yeah, that's
thing,
different.
like
Yeah.
that's a little bit different. But a lot of what we see as failures are just us being afraid of perception of how something might look. But it's like you fucking learn from it. I
Yeah.
was in we was boxing today, and somebody's getting ready for a fight in like 2 weeks, whatever, blah blah blah. And the boxing coach was like, "Yo, what's the worst that's gonna happen right now? You might get knocked down. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, you learn, you get back up, you do X, Y, and Z. Like a knockdown, it's not
Nothing.
that fucking big of a deal. It's the fight game. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Like you're learning here, you're doing X, Y, and Z. Like you're gonna be okay. You've never been knocked down before anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just like a lot of shit that we're worrying about, and it just made me think about life and shit like that. It's like a lot of the stuff that we worry about, like it's not that fucking deep, yo. It's not that deep. Yo, get knocked down once and learn from that knockdown. You'll know not to do that stupid shit again.
Oh, real
But at
quick.
least like you're putting yourself in positions to adapt to, and you're putting yourselves in positions to where it's like, all right, I can really learn some shit off of experience here. And that's actually what I was gonna bring up a little earlier, where it's just like put yourself in different environments so you can learn from them. And that's
Mhm.
something I had to do in my career because I was at the hardcore gym, and then I transitioned to the other gym that I was working at. And a big part of that transition for me, especially going to the other gym, was I needed to put myself in a new environment to see if I can thrive. Because I
Yeah.
was in the same place for the longest. So I knew that shit like the back of my hand. But I also felt like my ceiling in that specific place was that was it for me.
Mhm.
Not it for me as a person, but it for me in my journey where I was there. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like I can offer or do anything more within the parameters and the constraints that existed in that setup.
Mhm.
So what I told myself was, hey, I'm going to another setup.
Yeah.
I'm going to try another setup. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to see where I can take myself here. And being that this was such a different environment that I was prior to, I want to see how I want to see how I fit. I want to see how I grow. What's the most that's going to happen? It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Gives a fuck. And it didn't work. it,
Huh. I
it
remember
didn't
that.
even last a year.
Oh.
It didn't even last a year. But in that, I picked up so much.
Yeah.
I learned time management better. I increased my value within my own personal business. I started putting out more content. I started getting more comfortable with that. So there's a lot of shit from that experience that really sprung what Building Beast is today. So I don't regret it. What happened was I put myself in another environment, and I took my skill set and I sharpened it, and I got more tools to put in my toolbox, which increased my value. So then when I made my next transition, which is the transition that I'm 2 years into now, I come with all of this shit now.
Yeah.
And my starting point from when I first got to the location I'm at now to where I'm at today, night and fucking day.
Mm.
And it's dope for me because even clients that like I work with, or even clients that might have been with me 3 years before and now they're kind of like coming back and stuff like that, is like, bro, your operation today is completely different than it was when we were working.
That's great.
The whole setup that you have with programming and how you run a class, like your tone of voice to how you just run your service and do the shit that you're offering now. He was like, when you was working with me, you was doing one thing. Now I look at you, you got 8 different things going on. He's like, you're offering PT, small group PT online here. You got merch here. You was doing park workouts, joint classes, yoga fusion shit here. You got the podcast going. He's just going down the list, and I'm just thinking of shit like, damn, I
See?
did do all that within this time period.
Yeah.
But I'm just moving, and I'm just like taking my value, and I'm just attaching it places.
Yeah.
And that's
That's
what it is. That's the name of the game at the end of the day. So now it's like I'm taking what's here and I'm putting myself in different environments to be seen, to be heard, to touch different audiences, to create new avenues for myself. So now it's exciting because when you look at it, you're grabbing so much experience from that. Not only are you grabbing experience, you're grabbing networking.
Yeah.
And that same transition that I did is what got me in the space that I'm in today and in the spot that I'm in 2 years later.
Hmm.
And that would never happen if I never made that transition to get me in a new environment, because I trusted my value enough that you put me in any gym or you put me in any setting, like I'm going to get the result done.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out here, guess what? I'm gonna find another spot that that it works out at. Whether that's on my own, whether that's joint with somebody else. I have new networks and connections today, so there's possibility of things that can be aligned in other ways if I really push for it. So it exists because you recognize what this is, and
Yeah.
you also recognize where this is going.
Hmm.
Even to the way like I even to the way like I give assessments today. It's a different confidence behind it. It's I have such a way of how I start and finish each assessment and how I connect with a client. I'm like, if anybody comes in for an assessment at this point, I feel like I already got them. Especially if they have the budget for it. It's like it's never going to be a conversation of can I work with the person or do I know what I'm doing with this person. It's more of is it a convenience and can it work for their situation. It's never a talent conversation at that point.
Yeah.
And I feel like some things in the past might have been more of that.
I love
And
that.
it is awesome just to kind of see how much growth has happened. Like I officially hit 10 years in October, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
And I'm just and I think being that I'm getting closer to that time period, I'm naturally reflecting a little bit more on things that I did in my career. Like at this point I forgot more shit than I remember. So I have to actually dig in and think about certain things to kind of be like, damn, I was doing that at one point. Damn, I was charging this at one point. Like just little
Yeah.
shit like that. I'm like, that would never happen today.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's the biggest the one of the biggest takeaways like I want to actually like ask you a question about is because like I think a lot of people go through this and they like they're stuck and they don't know how the fuck to get out of it. When did you realize, or how did you realize, or what came up in your head that you were like, I need to go somewhere else? Like I hit my ceiling here. Again, not your self ceiling, but like the ceiling of what you were capable in the place that you were in. Like what was the conversation in your head?
So that's when I had a lot of. Well, this happened a couple times. I feel like I had a couple awakening moments. My first one at the first gym I sat and COVID had happened, and I was super grateful because they were a big help during COVID. And when the gym started like soft opening and stuff, I actually created an outside gym in that gym because I was an independent contractor there.
Mm,
So I actually found someone who was selling a wooden squat rack for like 250 bucks. It had a pull-up bar attached to it, like the whole nine.
like wooden,
Fucking
like
dope,
is it
dude.
like splinters and shit like that, like wood.
No, because it had like it was had good like wood sealant over it, everything. The wood was smooth. Fucking
That's
beautiful
dope.
rack. I could send you a picture of it if I still have it. And there was a little space in the parking lot that it was weird because the parking lot was like a U shape, but there was this one space that was like you kind of had to like come in a little pathway to it, so it was like a little section. So I created my little outside gym in that section, and right next to that outside gym there was like a grass lot. So as long as the weather was nice, and I put like a canopy over the squat rack, the whole nine. So if it was too sunny, we had like shade, or even if it like lightly drizzled, we worked outside. So I did that for like the whole summer.
Mm,
And I also went from having being that I had a lot more space to myself there because I was pretty much like a personal trainer in a gym, but not necessarily like a gym that was catered to personal training, if that makes
yeah.
sense. Like it wasn't a studio. And it was like a small gym and they never really had like a strict personal training area like how some gyms kind of operate.
Mm,
So I was just kind of making it work however I was making it work. But with that outside area, I saw that this is what it's like for me to control a room completely by myself.
Yeah.
And I moved my small group PT from 2 people to up to 3 people. And sometimes I would even squeeze in 4 people at that time because it was just us at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then like I had people's workouts ready for them to go. I had all the equipment what I would have needed out there, and I got a lot of shit done with a little bit of stuff. So as this kept going on, and then I was starting to see an opportunity somewhere else in another gym, I was like, hmm, I think I I think I can pull this off.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had the confidence in my ability that I can train people with not much, and I actually know how to run a setting of people together on my own pretty smoothly. I'm
Yeah.
controlling the music, like little things that I was never really used to. And I was realizing like this is bringing a different side of a coach out of me that I never got to flex before because I
Yeah.
just never had the opportunity to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that and I saw transitioning to this other gym that I could actually run a room, I was like, hell yeah, dude. Cause like I saw what that little bit of shit did for me in that corner. Now give me a room with full equipment and like speakers blasting and shit like that. I'm gonna take this shit through the roof.
Mm.
That's exactly what the fuck I did when I got there. Within 2 months, and I started actually learning like the inner workings of how the place worked, and I started like understanding like how to connect to the community there. I was shooting through the roof over there, dude.
Yeah.
Shooting through the roof. And then what happened when I was over there was I didn't have the best communication with the organization of the people that was like running the thing. Partly on me, partly on them. It's both when you look at it in hindsight. But also things that were promised to me didn't really pan out. But I also realized that they really never knew what they wanted to do with me in the first place. So if you don't know what you wanted to do with me there, I'm not gonna know my place there. So
Yeah.
now it's coming to a spot where I'm losing money because I'm not making as much as I was when I was doing my thing at the previous gym. But it was with the idea that this transition is going to catapult me into a greater position
Yeah.
and a greater financial situation. But I just planted the seed and I was trying to allow myself to grow into this thing and not feel like because I'm like, I'm new here. So I'm not entitled to this crazy shit off the rip. But I did have a conversation coming in here like, I'm making roughly X, Y, and Z here. This is my setup here. So I clearly don't want to make less than what I'm doing, at least long term here.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much promised in this case, like, yeah, you're gonna be here, you're gonna do this, we're gonna give you X, Y, and Z, blah blah blah. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then as time is going, where I'm realizing that the service that I'm providing is at a very high level, and what I'm getting in return isn't what was talked
Promise.
about.
Yeah.
What was promised, and it actually doesn't even look like we're getting anywhere near to the shit that we was talking about at this rate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, what's happening with me is I'm realizing that I'm actually providing a better and better service. I'm learning more and more, and my value is increasing weekly here without any sight of this situation looking like it's going to be greater than it already is. I was sitting on 3 to 4 months of just like hope. Like the first couple months, to me, I looked at it like that's the starting, that's the growing, and we were having conversations in those early months that looked like okay, we're gonna take it a little further than it was going, and then I just felt like it was just at a standstill for so long, and I'm like, well, how long are we gonna be at a standstill? Because my life is still moving, my life is still in motion,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna be one of those guys that's gonna show to the community that he's bitter and just gonna start delivering a shitty service. Because I also feel like how you do anything is how you do everything, and that's just gonna spill into other areas of my life, and I don't want to ever do something to where I feel like I'm dimming down my own talents or I'm dimming down my own value just because I'm not fulfilled here. Because at that point, I just looked at it like, well, if you're not getting what you want, that's your fault. because you've allowed this behavior
Mhm.
for so long at this point. So it's up to you to change it. And if it's not going to change here, you need to figure out where it's going to change.
Yeah.
And that's going to require you to take it's going to require some conversations. And it's also, or, which in my case, it was more the or than the and, because conversations were had, or it's pick up and figure
Dip.
out where this value is going to go and how you are going to create a situation that aligns with the value that you feel you offer.
Mhm.
And that's the space that we ended up being. Now, that required a short term loss, that required a huge risk, that required fear. Because when I made my transition into the space that I was in today, I didn't fully have my new setup prepared. It was more of like, I'm out of here. I'm taking a leap of faith. I knew I was gonna do online, and I knew I was locked in with Chino. We had Chino on episode 11,
Mm.
but that was kind of like it. But I also knew like the situation over there at Chino wasn't gonna be enough.
Yeah.
And then the situation that I'm at now in Denellen, shout out to Weapons 9, that worked out perfectly. And that's where I've been able to really utilize my value and I feel like my talents to its highest capability. And I think that's what's dope about where I'm at today is I feel like today is the space that I'm in where I'm able to fully utilize my value to its full capacity. Like if it doesn't work at the situation and the setup I have for myself, it's my fault. It's
Yeah.
complete. Like I have no other constraints. I can't complain. Like the most that I do is like I work around their schedule, but that was easy. I knew that going into it. Hey,
Mhm.
they do. I was asking. I was like, "What time are you guys classes?" Like I'm trying to figure out the location of where people are gonna be because I'm not going in there to step on any toes.
Yeah.
So I want to create my business structure and my schedule based off what you guys have going in here. So if I know that they have their busy hours at this time, maybe I'm going to offer a certain service or I'm just not going to come at those times. So being that I know that like I have a pretty set schedule in there. I'm there 4 days a week and yeah, I would say yeah, 4 days a week cuz it's
Mhm.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Well, 5 days counting Saturday. But I'm only there 3 mornings and 3 evenings. And Saturday I just kind of count as its own separate day. I'm there in the mornings, but I don't really count that towards like my mornings, evenings. I just kind of count Saturday as like a special day. If that makes sense.
Okay.
But Saturday I just kind of keep as like a short schedule. But primarily I'm there 3 mornings, 3 evenings, and I work that around where I kind of know that they have like busy times. I know the time that they do sparring. I know the time that they have their large classes, whatever, blah blah blah. So my schedule is wrapped around, and I create a business structure that will allow me to thrive based off of the availability I have there. But when I do have the time that I have in that gym, it's go time for me.
Yeah.
I set that up and now I can utilize myself to my full capability without the constraints of feeling like this is my obstacle, this is my obstacle, this is our obstacle. My only obstacle is me not getting the work done.
Mm.
That's
Uh,
it. And I think that was like the real important part for me is just if I didn't really understand the value that I was bringing in both of those situations prior, I would have never made any leaps because I
yeah.
just would have been complacent in the same spot that I was at because I wouldn't have felt like I can thrive in somewhere in another space.
Mhm.
So making that first transition to the from the gym that I pretty much started my career in, which I'm super grateful for all of these places. I have no bad like energy towards any places because they were just all a part of my journey.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna be where I'm at this space forever either. Like this is gonna transition into something else, and I have to be ready for whatever that transition is. Because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, like we're all independent contractors within this space, which means that all of these businesses are gonna eventually grow and expand, however that looks. Maybe it's a joint thing between all of us if it makes sense moving forward, or
Yeah.
maybe it's hey, we're gonna take it this route and do this thing. I'm gonna take it this route and do this thing. But for the time being of what exists here, it's a fucking great situation for everybody. We all work together well. We all utilize our talents, and we all we all we all kind of like work around, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
people from Muay Thai boxing are coming to me. I'm taking boxing here. I'm talking to the Muay Thai guys over there. I'm helping some people get ready for fights. So now it becomes this very integrated type of situation to where we're all actually bringing value to each other.
I love that. I love that. It's one of those things where you started by just trying,
That's it.
like in a safe space. I think what people need to understand is like you can always find a way to try something in a safe space or like at a minimal capacity to gain confidence in doing that and then take the leap. Because like I feel like a lot of people are like scared to take the jump because like they have to jump super deep. And um they need to understand there needs to be a way that they can compact that vision of where they need to go to gain the confidence they want to do to make the leap or whatever like that. And then sooner or later you'll be like, oh, I got it. Make it a little bit bigger, make it a little bit bigger, make it a little
That's
bit
it.
bigger, so on and so forth. And then you increase the value of it because you made tweaks every single time you had to increase it. You made tweaks, you understood, you learned, you took it back, you were unhappy. Cool, let's move it around and just always figuring things out because like you're always gonna figure it out. I think that's also what people need to understand. Like if you put yourself in a situation that's risky, it's like it's our secret and swim. Like you're gonna have to figure it out. I
That's
mean,
it.
that's literally it. Like if you don't figure it out, like what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? And I think the one thing like people need to understand, and I don't hate the word fail. I think I hate the fact that the word fail is negative. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I get a lot of people be like, oh, like I don't fail, I take lessons. And you said that too. It's like failure is a lesson. You know what I mean? I don't think you need to have like this whole fucking quote of like I don't take failure. I take as lessons. Like failure is a lesson. It's okay to fail. And I
Yeah.
think you need
Fucked
to
up.
take that negative, take that negative connotation out of failure and just fucking fail. And I think it's another one is like fail fast. Like just do it. Fail fast, fail often, fail like fail constantly. And like things are gonna end up, you're gonna learn for every single situation. And if you don't learn from your failures, then that's like the ultimate fucking fail.
Yeah.
And that's a negative fucking fail. I don't know what you fucking call that. That's maybe being called a dumbass. I
Yeah,
don't
that's just people who don't move with intention in life. We're not even
exactly.
talking. This conversation is not even for that person
Their
right
their
now.
conversation's not even for them. You're just a fucking dumbass. I'm sorry. Like that's what I'm gonna call you. You're just dumbass.
This is the conversation for people who understand value, or for people who want to utilize more of their value, or just even understand what self value is within themselves.
Yeah,
And you are gonna take risk, but the more you believe in what you do and the more you believe in what you offer, risks just become opportunities. And they're not saying they're not a risk, because they are a risk. There's some things that are going to be higher risk than others, but they just become new opportunities for you to showcase what you already have.
yes, sir.
And you gotta be like a lunatic with yourself with this stuff. Like if you really want to be of high excellence of whatever you do, you gotta fucking do shit that the average person just will. I'm not doing that shit. Yeah, because it's not for you to do. It's for me to do.
You gotta be fucking
It's
obsessed. It's literally
for me to
The
do.
Kobe Bryant
Yeah.
thing. It's literally the Kobe Bryant thing. You have to be absolutely obsessed if you want to get to where you want to go. Obsessed. That means like you're fucking super dedicated to the craft that you want to create. You're super dedicated in making sure that everything's excellent. You could have conversations when you need to have conversations. That's a big one. I feel like people have a hard time having crucial conversations with people that they need to get their point across. Like you just fucking got to be obsessed. You got to be and I hate more than anything is when people like use another one, obsession as a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like you could be obsessed. That's pretty normal. You know what I mean? It's as a fucking high value fucking thing is being obsessed with the one thing that you want to do more than anything else in your life. Like it's the only way to get anywhere is being obsessed with anything.
You should have something in life that you're obsessed about.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, especially when it's like a positive thing to be obsessed with. You just
Yeah,
have to learn how to create boundaries with it to where it's like you're not so obsessed to the point to where your life is just only wrapped around this
yeah,
thing. Like
function.
you have
Yeah,
to create capacity for other things to exist.
yeah,
Like we're obsessed with what we do in terms of our passion for fitness and all these other things, but like you don't want to be so just boxed in here to where like you don't exist outside of this thing.
yeah,
That's where you really start experiencing like some negative feedback.
yeah. And that's the thing. I think we had this conversation before where it starts
Go
becoming
ahead.
your identity. When it starts becoming your identity, then it becomes a problem. Like you need to find who you are without find out who you are without value. Why not? Words are fucking hard right now. Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying?
I know, yeah, I know exactly what
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Can you
what you
reiterate,
do,
please?
yeah, your obsession should be a part of your identity.
Yes.
It should definitely be a part of your identity. Your self identity is something that's extremely big. Your self awareness is something that's big, and all of this is what actually brings into your value for you knowing what you offer. Like we're gonna keep going back to that because that's what this conversation is really rooted around.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah. That's all. That's all. That's a good way to end it. I think people listen and listen clearly. You are of value. You're awesome. Remember that shit. And always remember to fail fast and be okay with failing, taking risks. Because that's the only way that you can increase your value because you made the mistakes before some people make them. And then you can always teach and mentor. And that's basically what podcasts are anyway, at the end of the day. It's just
A lot of
mentorship,
them.
mentoring.
Oh, now I know what I wanted to say.
Mm.
When you actually start listening to people who are very successful and people who are of very high value in whatever they put themselves into, they fucked up a lot, man.
Oh,
Like a
so
lot, a lot. And that's what I love. Like I listen to a lot of interviews. I slowed up recently, but I have for the most part, like I listen to a lot of interviews, but more so because I'm really, really intrigued on people's process.
yeah.
That's like really, really big to me, especially now being like I own a business. Well, at this point, I've been owning a business for like 10 years now, but being early on into it, I always wondered like, how do people get to this point? Or what were some people's trials and tribulations? Or what were some people's learning experiences for them to be who they are today? Because I I just always had in my brain, I'm like, all of this shit ain't sunshine and rainbows like it's presented to be. Or even at this high level that they're at today, at some point they weren't who they were today. So when you start, actually, hip hop is a great example, especially when you start hearing about a lot of these guys that start to make it. Every now and then you'll have some people that slip through the cracks who just started doing it. But a lot of people's stories is like they've been doing this shit for like 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
They might have just found their break. They might have
Mm.
just found that right opportunity that took them to this next stratosphere to where now the world knows about them a little bit differently. But like they're going through their circuits of maybe dropping freestyles on SoundCloud all the time or rapping in front of someone's at this point not really so much someone's event but maybe doing a lot of videos to try to gain traction or whatever the case. Or but
Mm.
when you start listening to a lot of the older guys, like especially from that 90s era and that early 2000s era and shit like that, people passing out fucking CDs in the back of their trunk, people going to like the local open mic nights and shit like that week after week after week. The Apollo was a big thing. People
Mm.
going to the Apollo every week. Some people getting booed. Some people getting booed constantly until they finally found a rhythm to how to hit. So like you start listening to all these stories and it's like that's just someone who was fucking persistent that knew that they had a talent that they just needed to sharpen their talent.
Yeah.
And a lot of us go into these things with these egos like we're too good to do certain things or we're too good to like we say fail in all these areas and it's like you have that's a part of the growth process.
100%.
Everybody's not just gonna just do something and it's gonna hit once. Let's be honest with the podcast. We just started dropping episodes and shit, right? We got 50 followers on IG right now. We got 25 subscribers on YouTube. It's a start, but it's
Mm.
not a lot. But that's okay
Yeah.
because this thing is going to continue to grow value. Who knows what episode is going to be that one that's going to click that a lot of people start seeing.
Mm.
Granted, our earlier episodes doesn't have the lighting and the sound the right way and all this stuff. Like these are things that we continue to figure out as we kept going, even with some of the amazing conversations we were having.
Yeah.
But
100%.
like we began to bring more value to this thing as we kept doing it because we were persistent in it, we're consistent, and we learned the thing as we were going on through it. You look at these episodes today, and I can't wait till we actually like drop these episodes and we can listen back, because we're gonna see how much growth, and not only how we deliver the podcast and our chemistry together, how it visually looks, how it sonically sounds. Like all of these areas are going to be naturally improved because you're going to keep learning it. Something as small as me slapping my logo on the wall here
So
is
I
something that
noticed
I
that.
did like 2 weeks ago or a
Yeah, I
week
saw.
ago.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, bro, he's just merchandising everywhere.
Like you're
Yeah.
just figuring little things out to do. I already got an idea how I'm gonna set this shit up for next week.
Hmm.
And that just comes from a place of you just gotta do it and bring the value and understand the value of where it's going, and don't be so discouraged early on, because you're gonna have those moments to where it's like it's not gonna be really going for you like that. We
Yeah.
have we have two businesses that do well on its own, and we have our identity as our own individuals, but
Mhm.
this thing together is an identity that's completely new.
Yeah.
Some of our clients have no idea what the fuck this thing is. Like
Hmm.
some people be like, "What are y'all talking about? Fitness?" And I'm like, not really, bro. Like we have new topics every week. Like we're
Yeah.
shooting this shit on all types of stuff. Like you have to watch it to fully understand it. But from the outside, it's just like, oh, it's just my two coaches that I know getting together, probably talking about squats all day long. Like
Which we
that's
could, we could, but we
we
don't.
could, but
Yeah.
that's not what's
Yeah.
happening.
That's
And
not
if we
what.
do have an episode only on squats, I can tell you it would be the best fucking episode on squats you ever heard.
100%. 100%. Like, nope, 100%. I don't know. We're gonna come up with cues. I don't know, but
Oh
I
man, but
agree.
there's so much
There's
opportunity with that.
so
But
much
you
fucking
gotta let
opportunity.
the thing grow. You gotta let it grow. You gotta let the value be seen. You gotta let the value create itself into whatever the value is gonna be, and
Yeah.
be patient with it, but also be like forward with it as well. Not so patient to the point where you're just like so laxed,
Yeah.
but definitely like, all right, understanding what it is, looking at like what we can do better. That's why we jump on these meetings before we do. We didn't have meetings before, but we're
Hmm.
having meetings now, so we can start looking at, oh shit, we can start doing this now. Or like Evan will text me something, or I text Evan something like, oh shit, I found this thing out. We can start utilizing this, and like building on ideas that we can make this machine even better than it was before. So by the time we get to episode 34, we're gonna be looking at this episode like, damn, remember when we was doing that?
Bro. Look how stupid
It's
we
gonna
were.
be fire, bro.
Yeah, we were just kids back then.
We didn't know anything.
We didn't know anything. Look at these fuckers. Yeah, I mean it's a process, everything just like anything else. And like I'm here to watch it grow. I'm here to be a part of it. And I couldn't be more appreciative of everybody listening and more appreciative of you like taking the journey with me too.
Shit's dope, bro.
Bro.
We finally did this shit the way we were supposed
Finally
to.
did it. No, 2 years on time.
Yeah.
Too
And when
late.
you really look at it, right? Like we was building the value for this technically like since we started the coaches vault.
Yeah.
Because that's
During
when we kind of first started entering that talk space.
yeah.
We were doing the articles and we were like doing the meetings, sitting down together. Like that was our first initial, like, I guess,
Yeah. Like
learning
yeah.
experience in that. And then we
Yeah.
just kind of took all of that, and then we were just like, all right, let's bring it to a show and
Yeah.
let's see what kind of happens from that. And what's funny is like I always wanted to do like an interview series for myself.
Hmm.
And I think I got like 2 or 3 episodes on my personal YouTube, but I didn't follow through with it too crazy.
Yeah.
But like I know I always wanted to sit and speak and build with another person, or at least do like interviews with people of some space, because I knew the type of conversations that I had. So even and this is a conversation, this is a thought from like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And now at this space is like I finally found the outlet to tap into this. So it's just a matter of like right place, right time.
100%. Yeah. I'm here for it, bro. I'm here. We can still do interviews. I think it'll be a good idea. And this can be another talk. It's like we still like go out and interview people ourselves, like
Hell yeah.
shit like that, bro. Like I think that increases our value and that helps us get better at interviewing and stuff like that and asking the right questions, preparing for stuff. But
Which is a different talking spot for us to get into, which I'm excited for. But one of the things that we was most intentional about early on was
it's a
we
new
didn't
one.
want to make this a podcast that was centered around other people coming to our show. Like
Yeah.
we wanted to be the center.
Yeah. And that was our big mistake when we did the coaches ball. It's like we only did a podcast with them. And then it was like it never really clicked. I don't know if it was our interview skills or the way that we did it, or there's too many people on the screen, but it just never really clicked. And I think that's hard to do over Zoom. But now that it's just us talking, I think we're providing a lot more value because we can actually speak from our own, just me, you back and forth instead of me, you, this guy, that guy answering one question. But yeah, I think
That
right
was
now
very difficult.
that was so difficult. I
We
actually
never
didn't think
really sat and like talked about it. We should one day, just like
yeah,
shoot the shit. That was a really difficult thing to pull
it
off.
was hard. Well, it's also that and like you were the best ones with the questions, and like fucking Marcus and I were just like there. You know what I mean, I would ask questions here there. It's like I'm just gonna stay here and look pretty, or just like fucking make jokes and shit like that. But it never really it didn't work out, and it was the same thing with like doing the mentorship stuff, like doing the whatever the fuck we called it. But
Oh, the
it
apprentice thing? Yeah, I remember
yeah,
that.
yeah, the
Yeah.
apprentice thing. So like no matter what, like the failure helped us get here. If we didn't do those interviews, we would not have figured out that the interviews weren't for us. If we figured out like getting all these people on fucking line was gonna be a bitch, or like that they just wanted to crack jokes about other trainers and shit like that, or the coaches, like I was like, oh, we're not
Yeah.
here for it. Yeah, I mean, we're here for betterment. We're not here to thrash, even though thrashing can be fun. I love thrashing,
It'd be
but
fun every now and then, but
every
like
now
it
and then
gets redundant, dude.
it gets super
It's
redundant.
not progressive. But it's
Exactly.
even crazy to think like how much of the seed was planted for both of us through this time period. Like
Yeah.
little spaces of us trying to do this specifically thing, but we didn't have the correct setup. Maybe we didn't have the right mindset. Maybe we just didn't have the right idea of how this should be structured and done
Yeah.
until we figured it out. Literally, until we just figured it out.
So
So
like,
this is
well,
like damn near like 3 years in the making at that point.
yeah. Well, I think it was the fuck it. We've always wanted to do it, and I think it was one of and we talked about it before. It was like one of those things we're like, ah, not now.
Yeah,
It's not the right time.
we didn't
We don't
create the
want to do
capacity for it.
it. Exactly. And then all of a sudden it was just like, bro, like fuck it. Let's get mics. I mean, you made me get a fucking MacBook. Like, but
Yeah, the
yeah,
little things that nobody kind of knows about, right? Just the little
exactly.
shit of you adding the investment to yourself and the value to
Exactly.
yourself, and it's just like, damn, this is dope.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a growing process, and it took a lot of failures for us to get here. We're only like fucking 17 episodes in, but I mean, look back at a couple like 30, 40, 50, 100, and maybe like we do transition. We were like, bro, let's get people on here, and we do transition.
Yeah,
It gives we're figuring it out. We don't know. Fuck it. But we're here for the fucking ride. That's what I'll tell you right now.
oh man. And
Yeah.
on that note, make sure you like, subscribe, put your notifications on for the YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. We will be available on more streaming platforms soon. By the
Mhm.
time this comes out, we might even be on fucking more streaming platforms at that point, which I expect us to be.
Yes, sir.
We're
Yes,
just
sir.
going to continue to keep adding to this value. I would probably say this is probably one of my favorite conversations we've done so far.
This is a good one.
I
Yeah.
think
I
this is
like it.
a really great episode. I think you guys are going to pull a lot from this one.
Mhm.
Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned with us next week. We are signing out.
Yeah, do all the shit. Subscribe, like, follow, all that shit. Bye.